Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to this week's edition of the Get Your Geek On podcast. As always, we are your host, Charles KIWACZ.
Robert Dokes.
And I'm Anthony Arsenio.
And taking a quick week off since there was no real breaking news this week to give you a chance to get to know us a little bit better. As the show grows, you want to know where our opinions are coming from and want to prove our nerd cred here by going over our top movies. Now, what we've done today is we've broken down several different categories of movies, and each of us have put together a list of our top 3 movies in each category, and we're going to share those with you, and you can feel free to sound off in the comments when this video is posted and let us know who you decided to side with. But all in all, we got a few different categories that we want to run through here, and we do want to try to keep our responses brief, guys. So just give your movie, quick little reason why if you want, and then the next person can agree or disagree. But I think one of the great ways to judge any good movie is obviously if it wins an award. So I want to start off this category with the top 3 Oscar winners of all time. Now, that can be obviously anything that's won an Academy Award. It doesn't have to be defined to a certain genre. But Anthony, I want to start this one off with you. Your top 3 Academy Award winning movies.
All right, so I just want to preface everything by saying my list of like the 3 best in each category have nothing to do with what I think is the best, but more so my favorite, and also what I could think of at the time. Because who knows? My tastes change all the time.
I just basically went with like my favorite that fits that category.
Yeah, same here. I didn't do what I thought was like the best 3 comedies ever. I did what 3 could be my favorites. And who knows? That kind of stuff changes all the time depending on the mood I'm in. But for my Oscar winners, number 3, Taxi Driver. Huge, influential movie.
Classic.
Old Scorsese, old De Niro. I don't know.
That's the Scorsese and De Niro movie you lean on, though?
That's one of them, yeah.
Okay.
For an Oscar winner. Okay. Anyways. 2, Green Mile, because that movie's awesome. And number 1, probably The Godfather 2, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, for reasons. And my honorable mention had to go to Fargo.
Wow, 4 really out there picks.
I tried to go out there. I wanted to make sure that none of us picked really the same movies. I know that you have Green Mile on your list. Spoilers.
I took Green Mile off. I had it in the drama category, but it's all right. I came up with backups for everything because my movie library is just that extensive. But yeah, not bad picks there. I can see Fargo as being like your out there in left field pick, so I like that. I
like Fargo.
Robert?
3 picks for me are first one would be The Usual Suspects. That movie where there's a swerve and a twist. Second Oscar movie is something recent, Spotlight. That was
son of a you bastard, dude. That was my number 1 in the category. My number 1.
Spotlight. That was just
you, dude. I'm sorry, like bleep it, but I'm like no one's gonna pick that.
That is a really good movie, especially topical for this particular part of the area. And then the other one I would say after that would be Ben-Hur. If you have not seen Ben-Hur, it was
remake, right?
Not the remake.
No,
the original Ben-Hur, 13 Academy Awards, was the one that won the most. Go check it out.
Yeah, that movie's awesome.
Oh, wow, I hate you right now for stealing that because I thought that was going to be like my pick to define the category.
But
my Oscar winners, since you took my Best Picture one, I'm going to have to go with 2 Best Actors and then a slew of awards. So my first one's Return of the King. It was my way to get Lord of the Rings in there. Those are one of my favorite movies. It's the only movie to ever sweep the Oscars. Won every category it was nominated in. They took 13 for that movie. So obviously that's a great one. Second one for me is Ray. Jamie Foxx, the Ray Charles story. Truly great movie. Inspirational in all categories. Totally deserved to win. And then having to replace Spotlight, I'd go Training Day.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a really good pick.
Antoine Fuqua, his debut movie, getting out there. Really great. Denzel finally taking home the Oscar, but just an all-around great movie. That typically you wouldn't think to be an Oscar-winning movie. No. When you think like of how like rated R that movie really is.
Rated R, but it had all the things of an Oscar movie where you're looking at not to belabor the point, the protagonist, the antagonist story was really good, and just how they built that up over time was to the climax of that film was really, really good.
So definitely some good picks there. Want to move on to a different category here, one where plot is really not nearly as essential at all as just kick-ass scenes, and that is the action movie category. And I'm personally going to start this one off because I couldn't wait to put this list together. Believe it or not, 2 of my 3 featured the same lead actor, which is kind of shocking. But so first one I'm going to get out there, and I know that you guys can rag on me if you want. It's The Expendables, the first one, because it was like the Avengers of the 80s and 90s action movie heroes. Like the dudes you grew up with, so just sheer nostalgia. I put that one in there. Second one is The Matrix. You can qualify whatever movie you want, but just sheer action scenes, things like that. Special effects were revolutionary for the time. But my number one in the action movie category has got to be John Wick. It is hands down.
I somehow knew you'd pick that one.
It's hands down one of the greatest action movies I've ever seen made. The choreography and the fight scenes, the acting, just all around great movie. So I definitely think that those three, in a movie where plot's really not important, three great movies where you can just watch some kick-ass scenes and turn your brain off for 2 hours, which that's one of the great things of an action movie to me. Robert, your top three.
Action movie. Really kind of the Indiana Jones. Any of those ones are.
I was gonna go with Indiana Jones.
Any of those movies have been great,
except for the fourth movie or action adventure, I guess.
Except for the fourth one. Except for the fourth one. Raiders of the Lost Ark had excellent action. Just not like your typical fight scene stuff, or it just intrigued me. And then you have Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade. It's what that movie is known for. It's just like these outlandish scenes. The second action movie would be Ip Man, if you guys have never seen that.
If one of you says Die Hard, I'm going to get up and leave, by the way.
No. No. And then my third one, which I had in my head. Oh, God.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right, guys, I got to go.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, it's a good... Big Trouble Little China.
Nice.
Ooh, good pull.
That was almost my number one, but I didn't even put it on my list.
Big Trouble Little China.
That was a good pull.
The movie's awesome.
I would put Terminator 2 up there as well. I think that's really one of the great action movies ever made, but I don't really qualify that as a traditional action movie. So that's why I didn't put it up there. Anthony, give us your top three action movies.
All right, number three, The Matrix, for all the reasons that you said. Number two, now this isn't exactly an action movie, but the action sequences in it were pretty awesome, and that's Edgar Wright's The World's End. Did you guys ever see that one?
Yes, it's part of the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah. So
hilarious.
It starts off as kind of like a comedy, but then it turns into this full-on fight sequence action movie.
Yeah,
for
the
whole
bathroom fight scene is
2/3.
pretty badass.
And that's just awesome. And then number one has got to be Enter the Dragon. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan, and that's like the
I almost went Jet Li. I almost went Romeo Must Die.
That's a good one. Yeah, so Enter the Dragon, the fight scenes don't even get better than that. And then for my honorable mention, I picked Mad Max Fury Road, because that movie is just packed.
Everybody loves that movie. It didn't appeal to me.
I'm a big fan of the Mad Max franchise anyways, so, it jumped out at me.
All right, now at the category I personally care the least about and just want to get out of the way, and that is the horror movie category. Those that know me know I am by no means a horror movie guy, but I had to put together something on this list that I think would qualify. So number one, obviously, is The Exorcist. Just for the sheer theme music of how that terrifies me to this day. Yeah, literally. Number two, the movie that honestly still cost me in therapy bills is Event Horizon. We've talked about that movie before on the podcast and just how sheer terrifying that is. But my number one, just for nostalgia factor and plot-wise, which horror movies tend to really have weak plots and be very predictable, is Halloween H2O.
H2O?
By far the best in the series. The Halloween movies are my horror franchise, but there is one moment in that movie and the reason why I had to bring up this category is when they first see each other through the door for the first time in 20 years, and there's just that look that they share between Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers. It was so iconic to me. So that was definitely my three there. Like I said, I'm not a horror movie guy though, so those can be a little bit atypical for responses.
The Ring.
Nice.
Japanese version.
Ringu.
Ringu Starr.
The Grudge.
I didn't say favorite Japanese horror movies.
Those are two of the most frightening films you will ever.
Are you going to watch the blend of them, like The Ring versus Grudge?
Yeah, I do want to see that. Those
two Asian kids going at it.
It's just those are two of the most horrifying movies you will ever see.
They're pretty terrifying.
It's just
a lot more scary than the American counterparts.
Yeah, it's just the stuff that happens in those movies is just.
My whole thing was just what if you don't answer the phone? The moment I saw that movie, I was just don't fucking answer it. I don't answer unknown calls anyway.
Yeah, I hardly ever answer my phone, even if
Dude, you call me from an unknown number right now, I'm not picking it up. Yeah, and you can tell me that you're calling me from an unknown number.
I don't answer the phone even if it's my mom. Just okay, she could text me. Is it my turn?
Yeah, I only have two for that one.
Oh, all right. So my horror movies are number three, It Follows. That is the first new American horror movie that has scared me.
I was going to commend you.
No, not it. It doesn't scare me. It Follows scared the crap out of me for like a newish movie. Number 2, the Evil Dead remake, which I thought was absolutely terrifying. And number 1, for pure nostalgic reasons, it was one of the earliest horror movies I saw when I was like a young teenager, and that was probably the original Blair Witch Project, which scared the crap out of me because everyone on Earth thought that was real.
It was so terrifying. It began the found
You literally
footage
just
run.
transported me back to my freshman year of high school. Like, I was working for Gene Shalit at the time. It's like I had movie cred even back then, and I literally spent hours in lunchroom debates like, dude, it's not real. It was made for 19
everyone
grand.
sort of knew
Here's the name of the girl. Here's where they go to school. Like, they're real people that are still, like, oh, God, that was horrifying to me.
And then my honorable mention is Alien, because that movie is just awesome.
I wouldn't really qualify that as horror, but...
Oh, you wouldn't?
No.
It's a monster movie.
It's a sci-fi movie with horror elements.
I think the first one is a straight-up horror movie. The second one is more of like a sci-fi action movie.
The first one, the way people out, and if you've played the game with the
Alien Isolation,
that is truly terrifying.
Yeah, it's not an unscary game.
And then to go completely polar opposite with our next category, we're going to do our top 3 animated movies.
Yeah.
Now, this can obviously
This
consider
is
a
the
wide
first
range
one
of
that
things.
I filled out like right away without even
So
thinking
give
about
us
it.
your top 3.
All right. I actually have 4 for this because I couldn't even put the 4th one as an honorable mention. It had to be on my list. So number 4 is this movie called Tekonkencrete. I don't know if either of you have ever seen it.
For all I know, you just had a stroke because that didn't even sound like an English word.
I'm not a huge fan of anime, but it is an anime movie, and it's one of my favorites. It's about like these 2 street rat kids who are there's only 2 people in their gang, and they're like the toughest gang in this city, and there's like this whole thing that happens, but it's really cool. It's based on an old manga called Black and White. Number 3, The Rescuers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Rescuers, but the 2 little mice who they're like sort of detectives. I love that movie. Number 2, The Iron Giant. Love it. Number 1 is obviously one of the best movies of all time, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Wow, dude, not one Pixar movie on the list?
I couldn't go with Pixar because Pixar is a whole different element to me. If we had a Pixar list, I would have done that, but I had to go with straight cartoons.
Those are some straight up random polls.
Yeah.
Robert?
All right, so...
If you take the one on my list, I swear...
Well, based on that, I think I know where you're going with this. So, WALL-E. That's the first Pixar.
Not on my list.
WALL-E,
I agree with it, but it's on my list.
WALL-E is a great movie if you've ever seen it. It's for nonverbal film.
Less than 500 words, the whole movie.
Yeah, just nonverbal film, just all visuals. Great. Next, the next 2 are going to be anime specific. So, Ninja Scroll. If you've never seen that one, 1995, great film. And then followed by the original Ghost in the Shell film animation, which essentially has defined a lot of anime and sci-fi to this date. And we get to see the movie coming out sometime with Scarlett Johansson in the near future.
Not bad choices. I tend to skew a little more modern, but still a couple classics. So number 1, I had Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton remake. Even though there is live action elements, a lot of it is computer generated, so technically I can consider that animated. Number 2, hands down, Monsters, Inc. One of my favorite movies ever. Like, totally great story. Number 3, Space Jam.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should have put that one on my list.
It's
love
so
Space Jam.
essentially a part of my childhood and just such a nostalgic movie for me. And then my honorable mention was the Minions movie. I just think, I don't know, they just appeal to the inner child in me for some reason that I can't explain, but I absolutely love the Minions. So yeah, my animated ones. And then you could put The Incredibles in that list as well.
Yeah, The Incredibles, those were
I felt
close.
like that was too easy. The
was.
Incredibles.
Yeah. Well,
That's why I didn't pick any Pixar, because I was just like, if I pick one, I'm going to want to pick all of them.
All right, now a little bit of a tougher category then. Give us your top 3 true story movies. Now, it doesn't have to be based entirely in true story, but something that actually happened that they made a movie of.
Me?
Yes.
All the President's Men.
Ooh.
The story of the 2 guys that broke Watergate.
Nice.
Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. That movie's fucking awesome.
Really great movie.
Pirate Radio.
Ooh, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, that's a really good flick about these radio pirates that live out in the sea. And number 1, Saving Private Ryan, just for the cast list alone, was stunningly
This one I
incredible.
wouldn't have seen coming.
And then I have, as my honorable mention, Scorsese's Raging Bull.
I agree. Not where I would have went, but I agree with it. I see that.
All right. For me, Glory is a great film based on the Massachusetts 54th Colored Infantry with Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman. I think Morgan Freeman or Denzel got the Oscar for that year. The next one, oh man, how to explain this film? The Untouchables.
You're close to where I was going with one of mine.
the Untouchables. Even with the over dramatic necessary, the idea of that Robert De Niro, Sean Connery, and oh man, I'm forgetting his name.
Robert is the captain of Dead Air today on the podcast.
Dead Air. It's like
that's why you make a list.
DJ Dead Air.
I have a list in my head. I'm blanking on the name of the actor. It's Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner. Great film. And the final one would be... I don't have one. This guy.
All right, so my three true story ones. Number one, Wolf of Wall Street. Great movie. Obviously, most of that really happened. Really loved it.
There's so much Scorsese on this list.
It really. Number two, JFK. Hands down, one of my favorite movies ever made, let alone just fitting into this true story.
That was one of my favorite, we have to watch in school movies.
Yeah. Because it was 6 hours long in school. So
Back
nice.
into the left.
And then, I can't even, that's still scorched into my brain. And then number three, Tombstone.
Wow, okay.
Okay.
The Battle of the OK Corral. Love that movie,
Huckleberry.
dude. I would argue that is hands down Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on his name right now.
Val Kilmer.
Val
See,
Kilmer.
you're having the same problem I have.
I would argue that is his best role.
Yeah, that was him, Bill Paxton, Kurt Russell is another, that. All the cast in that were just really, really great. Man.
Those are my three. I think that Tombstone is one of my top underrated movies of all time. I don't think that movie gets nearly the credit it deserves because it's a Western.
No, I agree. That's a great pick.
And then, so obviously, true stories that can be left to itself. I'd love to hear some of the comments, what you guys think here. We're now turning to a genre a little more nerdy and fitting into the podcast, and that's going to be sci-fi. So there are a lot of places that you can go here, and I want to start us off.
Yeah, this one was really hard for me.
So I want to start us off, and two of mine are based in time travel, because anybody that knows me, that's my favorite subject ever. So I'm going to start with The Butterfly Effect. I feel like it was the first movie of its kind to really delve into that subject matter and do it what I thought was appropriately. And the idea of alternate timelines, skewing things like that. And the alternate ending I put up there as the greatest alternate ending that never made it into a movie.
Yeah, that one.
What's the alternate
ending? So the ending in the movie, he sees the video of the barbecue, right? And he goes back and he tells the girl, if you ever talk to me again, I'll kill you and your family, right? And then they pass in current day and they have that look like they know each other. The alternate ending, the only video that he has when they're trying to break in and he's in the mental asylum, is the video of his mom in the delivery room giving birth to him. So he goes back and then it just cuts to a fetus in the womb wrapping the umbilical cord around his neck, and then it cuts out to the doctor and the mother we're losing the baby this night, and he kills himself.
Ugh.
Yeah. Dark, but
it was,
fits into that movie.
I think I do remember watching that actually.
I remember having that because I saw that film on video, and when we rented it, my roommate at the time had seen the film, and we got the director's cut, and he was in the middle of, right at the end, he's like, "That's not how it is."
Yeah. Hands down, it was the first DVD I had to buy because of the alternate ending I had read the description of. Number two is Looper. Thought it was insanely original. I thought the idea of it was really cool. There were so many aspects that had been, time travel is something that's been so played with and used and explored, and it found ways to make it new, which is one of the things I really love. But my number three is kind of an old one, but it's so close to my heart, and that's Highlander. I hold that movie up there so high, because it's really one of the few movies that I fell into hard with a fandom. Before I was big into comics, anything else like that. That was one of the few movies where I was yeah.
Yep.
That was my first franchise.
Yeah, the big "you can be only one." Yeah, the second one kind of went off the rails, and then they brought it back.
But then they redeemed themselves with the fourth one though by merging the TV and the movie ones. So that was really cool. But Anthony, here's your chance to redeem yourself.
Redeem
with the sci-fi
myself.
category. I'm disappointed in your animated choices.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chuck. Let's see. Number three, Galaxy Quest. Love that movie. Had such a good cast too. My God, just Alan Rickman alone blew me away in that movie. There's also a lot of Sam Rockwell on my whole list here. Number two, Moon, starring Sam Rockwell, and Kevin Spacey. Have you ever seen Moon before? Oh, it's awesome. It's about this guy who lives on a mining colony on the moon, and when his time is up, he is killed and replaced by his clone, and he finds him. He like survives one of the death attempts. Well, when they try to like get rid of him, he survives. So it's him and his clone trying to figure out how to get back to Earth and expose the company they work for as being like this horrible, corrupt company. Number one, Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
Is up. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I would pick any of the Star Wars movies except for the prequels, but I really liked Empire. It's probably my favorite one, and my honorable mention is Back to the Future, for nostalgic reasons.
I forgot to throw in my honorable mention for sci-fi, and it's one that I really have to mention, so I apologize for cutting it. But it's KIWACZ.
Oh, KIWACZ is awesome,
dude. It's one. I love a movie like Inception or anything like that, where the ending can really go either way. Like you can choose your own ending type of thing. Like Inception, some people choose to believe that he woke up, some choose to, like I do, that he never woke up and he's been in it the whole time. But KIWACZ was one of those ones where you really didn't know. Like, was this dude an alien?
I mean, the books were definitive. Like,
well, what
in the
killed
books
me was the fact that the chick was gone. Like, the homeless chick was gone, too. That he, like, or the fire starter chick that he took with him. Remember, he has the whole contest of, like, who he's going to take. So that's the part of the movie that, for me, was like, all right, I could explain him having a mental break, but where did she go? So that movie, to me, was just classic sci-fi, and it blends together so many genres. I mean, there's comedy aspects, there's true drama, there's the sci-fi, so all around great
Which are all the reasons why I picked Back to the Future as
I
my
totally agree with that pick.
Honorable mention.
Now, staying in the nerd realm here, obviously.
Oh, wait, I didn't get to go.
Oh, yeah, you didn't get to go because you didn't bring a list.
You don't get to go.
I have a list. It's just in my car. So, no, you have The Fifth Element.
Ooh.
If you've never seen that film, please go see it. One of Bruce Willis's best, Mila Jovovich. We got Chris Tucker.
Multi-pass.
Yeah, multi-pass. Lilo Dallas, multi-pass.
Meat popsicles with that
meat popsicle. Meat popsicle.
But don't forget Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Really good.
I think of Chris Tucker freaking out in the lounge scene.
So, yes. So, Aliens is one of the first ones that I saw. One of the first kind of horror action sci-fi movies that I saw. I was fascinated. It's still one of the movies I can watch to this day.
The entire Alien franchise is really, really good.
Well, the third one, the third one and the fourth one were a little off, and but the Aliens one, that's the one that gets me always. And then finally, Predator.
Nice.
If you've not seen Predator, watch it. It's like a quintessential 80s action movie that's not necessarily not necessarily horror, not necessarily action, but the sci-fi, because you're dealing with this like thing that is killing people.
My favorite scene in that movie is just the dude that's just looking out into the woods like, I know he's out there. I see him. That
you can see it
so quintessentially 80s.
It's quintessentially 80s film, but it's like you could just see the film was like you're dealing with this unknown. You think this is a team of ultimate badasses that are dropped into a jungle and they're fighting against an alien that they don't know how to fight.
Not bad, not bad. Staying in the nerd realm here, I want to go to superhero movies. I want to preface this by saying that we have eliminated The Dark Knight from contention because it is hands down like one of the greatest superhero movies ever made.
That was number one on my list.
I have never met one person, superhero fan or otherwise, that has said they didn't like The Dark Knight. So it's not even fair to keep that in contention here. So top 3 superhero movies not called The Dark Knight. I want to start this one off here with what I consider to be a perfect film, let alone a superhero film. That's Iron Man. The first Iron Man movie is so complete in every way, hands down one of the top in that genre. Number 2 is the first movie that I ever considered, besides Star Wars, the sequel outshined the first one. That's X-Men 2. Some of the action sequences, some of the storylines in that, absolutely incredible. And then, weird pick here, you might consider it, because there's no superhero scenes at all in it, is Unbreakable.
See, I would argue that there's plenty of superhero scenes in that.
But I mean, not your when you think superhero movie, you don't think like, oh, just dudes talking for 90% of the movie. But that movie, to me, is the definition of a superhero movie. Because when you think superhero movie, you think, oh, Marvel, DC, all these big-name franchises and stuff like that. That was M. Night Shyamalan, arguably at his best.
That's his best
creating
movie.
an original story.
That's his best movie.
His movies are hit and miss. That one grew on me over time.
Samuel Jackson's performance is hands down one of his top 5 performances ever in a movie.
Yeah, I liked him as Mr. Glass, but that movie took a while for me to grow on after watching it a couple of times because initially I was disappointed after seeing his first film, and then this one just was like, I was like, I get it now.
That's a slow burn. The whole movie is like a real slow burn.
Yeah.
which I thought it was awesome.
I just thought it left itself open for sequels too, because when he finds Mr. Glass is bored of everything and stuff like that, there's other unbreakables on there. There's like a baby that survived a plane crash. Like there's other people, and I thought that would have made it cool. Patton Oswalt pitches a trilogy where like he goes out and finds the other unbreakables, and then in the next movie, Mr. Glass takes his blood and gets his power and stuff like that. It's just really cool. But for such an independent movie and not tied to a major franchise, thought it was quintessentially a superhero film. Let me hear your top 3, Robert. Superhero
So I'm going to
movies.
throw one out here that nobody has ever thought of, but you might. It is to
Blank
me.
Man?
No, not Blank Man. No, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Ooh,
Oh, God damn it.
really? You had that on your list?
Yeah. And I also had Unbreakable as number 1.
Wow, so that's happened. I'm glad it happened to somebody else.
So Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
This is why we make a good show, folks. The chemistry is palpable.
Yeah.
Can't even do Unbreakable either. All right, great. Thanks,
So as
guys.
Anthony rethinks his life
This
decisions,
is a
Robert.
So yeah, great movie. Michael Cera. Just the comic effects. It just brings me back to my childhood. Arcades, fighting games, RPGs.
Awesome score, too.
Awesome, really, really, really good score. Generation graphics on that one. The second one I had to say is fairly recent. It's X-Men's Days of Futures Past.
Wow.
Reason being that saved the franchise. For me, it was a sinking ship, and
I would argue First Class did a damn good job.
it started. I didn't know where they were going with it though, but when I saw what they did, the retcon. The retcon.
Brilliant. It really was brilliant.
It
Writing.
was like everybody knocks J.J. Abrams, but J.J. Abrams, the retcon is like, yeah, let's see how we can fix this. Time travel.
Just real cut out real quick. Did anybody see the season premiere of South Park last night?
No.
They
No,
hired
missed it.
J.J. Abrams to reboot the national anthem because of all the controversy and stuff like that. Absolutely hilarious. But
Reboot. And then you did take my X2 was good.
X2 still holds up to me
Yeah.
as one of the best special effects driven superhero movies. And think of that movie as 2002.
Yeah. X2 makes it difficult, so I have to kind of think up another one here. First Superman was made by Richard Donner,
Ooh, the OG.
the OG one.
All right. So mine are kind of weird. Number 3, Chronicle.
Oh, I didn't do my honorable mention was Batman Begins. So
There you go.
Chronicle, amazing. I
Chronicle-
can't believe I didn't put that on my list.
Yeah, that movie's awesome. It's not exactly a superhero movie,
Oh,
but
definitely.
it has the elements
it's
of it.
absolutely a superhero movie.
I love it. I mean, it's
It's a super villain movie, if anything. But.
for me, it kind of it brought more life into the found footage movies, which were kind of getting dull after a
It's
while.
the best found footage movie ever
Really
made.
good
in my
actors, a bunch of unknowns. They all went on.
That
They're all-
movie
most
launched
of them
Michael
are
B.
going
Jordan,
on to
yeah.
do other stuff. So, like Dane DeHaan was in Spider-Man, and Michael B. Jordan was in that great Fantastic Four movie.
Which we loved here. And just stay tuned for our commentary track coming soon.
Yeah, so Chronicle, awesome. I didn't see half the stuff in that movie coming.
I think
And
that's the
had
hands
no
on the
i-
pick I most agree with on this list.
I had no idea what I was even getting into with the movie because I had no idea what it was about when I watched it for the first time, and I'd never seen the trailer or just I went into it totally 100% blind, and that was awesome. Which is also how I watched my second favorite superhero movie, which is Mystery Men.
Oh, I had that on my list for comedy honorable mention.
Mystery Men.
I love you for picking
is
that,
awesome.
man.
Amazing cast, awesome characters, such a good original story. I know it was based off of another story, but
And so 90s.
just
that
so
it's-
good.
You can taste the 90s.
I mean,
in it.
everybody in it, even Tom Waits, they just like all brought it.
You're my hero
And
for
it was
picking
good.
that, dude.
It had just a great ending. I wish that they kept the original ending where they all died at the end because that would have just been so true to like the way the comics went. But Mystery Men, and then for my number 1, I have to go again with Mask of the Phantasm because I just think that it is one of the greatest superhero stories ever written. Great vocal acting from everyone, good score.
Nobody picked Watchmen? Like, I didn't pick it hoping one of you guys would pick it up.
Nah. I like the book
Well,
better
I
than
think
the
that's the
movie.
idea. We were all thinking about the same thing.
I would argue that's one of the best adaptations of all time, as far as like taking a source material and mirroring it as closely as you can on screen.
I do want to say one thing about Mask of the Phantasm, though. The way that they also were able to weave that story into the Justice League animated series.
Yeah.
If you ever saw that, there was an episode where it's in the future. Bruce Wayne is dying, and essentially his Batman Beyond Terry is essentially his genetic match, and he's trying to figure out why. And it has Amanda Waller, and it tells this really good story. And Phantasm is in it, and they explain that, and it's just
That whole movie was just awesome. I mean, the Joker was so devious and great in it. The villain, there was such a good twist on like the identity of the villain. I don't want to spoil it just in case anybody's never seen it, but you should go see it. or not go see it, but rent it or buy it.
Alrighty, so as we start to wrap things up here, rounding the corner with some of these categories, I want to throw a little bit of a wild card out there, and this is your top unpopular movies or movies that people have never heard of. Movies that, like, this is your chance to actually get them a little bit of exposure. So number one, as far as, like, unpopular opinions, mine is Man of Steel. I love that movie through and through. I know that it's divisive among fans for its own reasons and things like that, but for being an origin story, for having a great plot, great cinematography, special effects, you name it, great movie. Number two, hands down, What We Do in the Shadows, as far as like movies that people may not have heard yet. The comedy by the creators of Flight of the Conchords. One of the funniest movies I've ever watched. I had to really fight myself to not put it in my comedy category. And then number three, also comedy, but independent, you may not have heard of it, is Fanboys. The story of the kids who have the dying friend and try to break into Skywalker Ranch to steal a copy of The Phantom Menace before it premieres. Insane cast, like so many Star Wars actors, Kevin Smith, Jason, cameos galore, Seth Rogen. Hilarious movie, but like no one I know has seen it. It is just one of those weird movies where I'm like, how did this movie not get huge? So Robert, unpopular movies or movies that are not well known.
Cloverfield.
I'm going to negate that right now. That movie was huge theatrical release, and it got a sequel. It got a
sequel, but it was hugely unpopular because like when it was one of those
that's your unpopular pick. I thought you were saying like movies people hadn't heard of.
No. It was hugely unpopular when people initially saw it because it was like, what's going on? That to me is one of the best. Like you talk about found footage. That next to the original Blair Witch Project. That was one of the best found footage things I had ever seen.
I loved that. I loved it. I saw it in the theater a couple times.
And everybody's like, I don't get it. I'm like,
I disagree because it showed how faulty white people are. There are two moments in that movie that the movie should have ended there. Number one, when everyone runs outside and the head of the Statue of Liberty comes bouncing down the street, immediately you're like, game over, let's fucking go. And number two, when they make the dumb decision to go back for his girlfriend and his friends decide to go. I don't have any friends that loyal. Like, none. It should be a what? So yeah, I unpopular opinion for sure.
Unpopular, but the second one is an unheard of movie. It's called Fear of a Black Hat. If you know any of your early 90s hip hop or rap references, this is done by Rusty Cundiff, who originally did the Tales from the Hood movie.
Don't be a menace to South Central.
Yeah, it's almost along that. It's a parody of a rap group, similar along the lines of This Is Spinal Tap. Excellent movie.
What's it called?
Fear of a Black Hat.
Fear of a Black Cat. Wonderful.
No, Fear of a Black Cat. Yeah. And my third one, unpopular for me, was Blade 3, and I love that one.
Interesting.
I love that movie too. I can't honestly find any faults in that movie.
I cannot find fault. Ryan Reynolds is the best. You can talk about all those things, but Ryan Reynolds made that movie hilarious for me.
That movie epitomizes like what I had wanted to see in a movie because I'd never seen it before and I've never seen it since. And it's Jessica Biel's character listening to her iPod while she's kicking ass. Because that's something I've always, like, you always see that meme, like, what's the playlist playing while you're, like, on a rampage and stuff like that. I was like, I would kick so much more ass if I had a soundtrack behind me. Yep. So I definitely agree with that movie. Good pull there. Anthony.
My favorite unpopular or unknown movies are a little weird. Definitely more out there than the rest of my list. But number one, The Fisher King. With Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams. It's not really what Robin Williams at his funniest. It's kind of a sad movie, but it's really weird. Have you ever seen it before? Yeah. It's a really good movie. I think it was Terry Gilliam, so it's got like that really weird Terry Gilliam weirdness that's underlying the whole thing. Number two, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Thank you for putting that out there.
One of my favorite book series of all time.
Thank you for hands down one of the greatest book series ever made.
I've liked every single adaptation. I've listened to every single.
Do you know I still carry
a
towel with me everywhere I go because of that?
I've listened to every form of the radio show. I've read every single book, including the new one by the new writers. I've seen all the TV shows. I've seen the old British movie. I've seen the new movie 1,000 times. And also, it's just got two of my favorite actors in it: Sam Rockwell and Martin Freeman.
This is why we are good hosts, folks.
And the movie didn't get the. I mean, I wish that it did well, so it could have gotten a sequel because the series just gets better from there in the books.
One of Mos Def's greatest roles, I think.
He's awesome in that movie.
He is really,
and he's
really
exactly
good.
who I would have picked for Ford. I mean, the cast was just so perfectly well done. And for my third one, I got Detroit Rock City, the movie about.
Yes, you've seen that movie. You're like the third person I've known that's ever
it's
seen
one of my
it.
favorite
Dude,
movies.
the scene where he doesn't give his name when he wins the tickets.
Yeah.
My heart broke.
That
and then
movie's
the
funny.
mom burning the tickets.
Has an awesome soundtrack. It's just a really good coming of age story too.
Knights in
really
Satan's
well made.
service.
Really well made for a Kiss movie. You know.
That's the thing. Like I hate Kiss. Personally, like I just don't get it at all. And that movie, I love it. Despite of dude, giving the priest mushrooms on a pizza to get their buddy out, like what?
That whole movie was just really good, and it had an awesome soundtrack to boot.
Great pull.
And then my fourth, I know it's kind of weird, but I picked Dogma.
Great.
It's my favorite of the Kevin Smith movies in terms of wackiness. I mean, obviously they're all pretty good, and I love Clerks and Mallrats and Chasing Amy and all that, but Dogma's got to be up there because it should have done better than it did, and that's it.
Not bad here. We got 2 categories left here, and I'm going to have to take a brief break. So I'm going to list my 3 off for the crime genre, and I know I'm taking the top 3.
Comedy, drama, and crime.
Oh, we didn't do drama yet. All right, so I'm going crime right now and knocking my top 3 off the board before you guys even get a chance to them. Goodfellas, Casino, The Departed. Checkmate. Boom.
Damn.
So
Okay.
I will be stepping out to the bathroom, and we'll return momentarily. You guys feel free to give your list and then explain why.
Well, I'll do mine because half of them are on Chuck's list too, so I guess we could just talk about those. Goodfellas is my honorable mention. I mean, Scorsese. 3, The Departed. Scorsese, awesome cast, good story, and it just hits my hometown button because we're from here. And Casino, also on there. So my list is riddled with Scorsese holes.
Yeah.
And then my number 1 is probably The Godfather because it was just classic and just a beautiful film in general. Really long, but
the first one was really good. Mine, Casino, is on that list. Usual Suspects again is just another great crime movie, just a caper film. And people wouldn't think about this as it, but Ocean's 11.
Oh, I definitely consider that a crime film.
They're committing a crime.
Yeah, any heist movie, I mean.
It's a heist movie, but it's like, hey, we're doing this. It's stylish. It makes you root for the bad guy, but
There's a lot of good movies that make you root for the bad guy. There's a lot of good stories that make you root for the bad guy. There's a whole. I mean, there's so many. Even like Guardians of the Galaxy could be considered a crime movie in some aspects. Because they're kind of outcasts and renegades.
he gets out of jail and he goes his plan is to rob his ex-wife's husband's casino.
Yeah.
It's like, when I'm going to not only going to steal my wife back, I'm going to steal all your money doing it. And you're like,
did you ever see do you remember that Jay Moore movie, Mafia?
Yeah.
That spoof movie?
Oh yeah, that
like
was just the scene where he's like eating the Jello and
he's
everybody
all
starts
burned. And even the horse is throwing up.
It was just like
that was a great movie.
Just,
I mean, it's really bad, but it was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of entertainment value, I thought it was pretty funny.
No, I think the big thing about the crime movies, like, Casino is one of those ones. If you haven't seen Casino, and you probably have, it is one of those. It is a role where you see Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci at their best.
Oh yeah,
it's like that combination of people,
just like in Goodfellas.
In Goodfellas, but even outside of this, it's like take Ray Liotta's character out of it, they can just stand on their own and just you're like, and Sharon Stone is in the movie, and you're like,
she is bananas in this movie. It's awesome.
It's just like she's trying to do.
Also, Casino, I think, had one of the most satisfying endings.
Yeah.
When you get to watch Pesci get beat to death with a bat, you're just like, oh, thank God.
And even outside of that, the joke is, there was a Tina Fey American Express commercial when she was on, I was like, Martin Scorsese's in a plane with me. And she changes her entire plans around. She's like, don't you ruin this for me. I have a chance to be beaten to death with a bat.
I know. I feel like Scorsese is like obviously there was Coppola because he had the Godfather franchise, but Scorsese might be the king of the crime drama.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would say for that one, yeah, definitely. Because even with the Godfather 1 and 2, the story that Coppola tells with those two films is just consistent.
Oh, and
this
beautiful.
one, it's just very consistent. You know the characters. But when you get to Casino, you're seeing, it's like not only you're seeing the story of, these two guys who are, one's a bookmaker essentially, and the other one's muscle, and they're building. You're seeing how Las Vegas grows.
Yeah, and I mean, and there were, just the. All right, so my girlfriend watched that movie for the first time the other day, and she was so stressed out for the entire movie because Sharon Stone was like stressing her the F out. Everything that she did, and how De Niro keeps taking her back because he's got like that really classic mentality where like, you don't just leave her. You gotta try and take care of her. And just watching her like screw him over constantly, and when she cheats on him with Pesci, she's just like pulling her hair out, just like, is she gonna get what she deserves or what? Oh, it was just so good. I mean, even like The Departed. God damn, the movie's awesome.
Yeah, no, I saw that for the first time. No, I didn't see it when it originally came out, and so because I wasn't, I'm still. A lot of people know I'm not from the area originally, and it's one of those movies that I wanted to let it sit on me first, and so I caught it after the theater because everyone and their parents were just talking about it. I was like, "Have you seen The Departed?" And it is a great film, but it didn't make my list because I felt that I wanted to throw something in there that was unique.
By the way, every time you mention the fact that you're from New Jersey, I just immediately think of the How I Met Your Mother episode. I hate New Jersey.
Most of the time, I get that from The Sopranos.
I was just thinking about. I was just thinking about How I Met Your Mother because we were talking about The Departed, and when Marshall and Ted are like, "Are you a cop? I'm not a cop."
So quintessentially him. I love that show.
All right, so let's go from crime to drama.
Drama here. So obviously, a couple movies I had on this list got knocked off, so I got to rework them here. So, number one, I'm going to go with The Prestige. The Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman magic movie directed by Christopher Nolan.
With a lovely twist.
One of the best twists in movie history, in my opinion. On both ends. For both characters, both had major twists, which never happens in a movie. It's always like one single thing. So, love that movie on many levels. You took The Green Mile, so I'm not going to go that one. I'm going to go John Q. Denzel Washington movie where he's trying to get a heart for his dying son. Insanely, like, for the category of drama, that's the epitome of a drama to me. And then my third one, Castaway. Like, consider that movie what you will, but like,
movie's so good.
It's so good, but it's so for a person where 90% of that movie it's just him. Brought emotion, and that's so hard to achieve. Like it really is. And if you're not, every part of that movie had to come together right to make it a success. So I mean, those are my three dramas. I mean, my honorable mention, I would say, is probably Hell or High Water, which just came out. I mean, that's going to win an Oscar. Chris Pine is going to get an Oscar for that movie. It's that good. And Jeff Bridges, absolutely amazing in it as well.
He's just always good anyways.
So, Anthony, your top three dramas.
All right, so I went out there and made some really weird choices, but just bear with me here. Okay, so number 3, I used Tim Burton's Big Fish. That movie made me cry my eyes out at the end. It was so good, and just the whole fact that none of it was real, but maybe it was. Everything about it was really good. I thought it was shot really well. I mean, for me, it was one of Tim Burton's last really great movies, at least in my opinion. Number 2, I'm going to go with City of God.
The City of Angels with Nicolas Cage.
City of Angels with Nicolas Cage. Angels in the Outfield.
No lie, dude. Angels in the Outfield is on my list in case we did sports. I'm not
kidding.
joking. Look, dude, right there. Angels in the Outfield.
That's not on my list.
I know, but it's just so random.
City of God. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's about these two kids growing up in Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like this gang-ridden, war-torn town. And one grows up to be a gangster, and the other one grows up to not be a gangster, and it shows how it affects their lives and their relationship with each other. And number 1, very strange, but I think it's more of a comedy, but I picked it just because it's one of my favorite movies ever, and that's The Truman Show.
Jim Carrey's my favorite actor ever.
Jim Carrey's great in it. He really brings it in that movie.
He showed off his acting chops
really
there.
does well. Just like the whole reason I picked it and why it's like number 1 on my list is just
it's so original
at the end. Just was anything real? That movie just made me feel things that I don't usually feel. And then for my honorable mention, just a movie that I saw recently that I thought was really good and super tense, Room with Brie Larson.
I did not like that movie.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was very stress-inducing, which is a good sign of a movie for me. If it stirs any sort of emotion in you whatsoever, then I think it's doing its job pretty well. And that movie made me feel tense as all hell.
Robert, your top 3 dramas, sir.
So first one I'm going to pull out is one that I've seen recently that just keeps sticking with me, The Martian. If you've seen that, if you think about the circumstance, it's almost like Castaway, but you're on a planet that is essentially, like you were millions of light years away from home, and I think Matt Damon did a really good job. And
I'm going to strongly disagree with you, though, for the simple fact that that would be a great sci-fi pick, but for drama, I don't feel like there was any drama in that movie because I never felt in that movie like Matt Damon wasn't going to get home. Which I would argue is one of the main points of a drama. Like, you have to feel that, like, upward tick of emotion.
Yeah, it was like anything at moment he could possibly kill him. There was that one scene where his mind was like he's sitting there and the habitat had gotten blown out, and he had to duct tape it to, great use of duct tape the entire film.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing duct tape can't fix.
Nothing duct tape can't fix.
Even in
but
space.
the enclosure blew out, and he was sitting there, and he's like, it's working now. But at any point in time, any of that stuff could have blown out, and he would.
The enclosure also blew out 45 minutes into a 2.5-hour movie, so I'm like, they're not going to kill Matt Damon 45
They're
minutes.
not going to kill Matt Damon. But that was mine. The next one that I have for drama for me was Saving Private Ryan. That was just, it was Tom Hanks at his best, but it also introduced us to Vin Diesel, Edward Burns. You also got cameos from other different actors in that entire film. It gave, Matt Damon one of them.
I feel like everyone was in that movie.
Not everybody was in
Not
there.
everyone, but there's a lot of people in that movie. That's in a very impressive cast list, even for people that just had like 1 or 2 scenes.
Like 1 or 2 scenes in there. But it's just, that the D-Day battle right then and there. If anybody knows the history, it took them 5 hours to set up, and if they messed up on a cut, took them another 5 hours to reset it. And so just that right there is just kind of dramatic. And another Tom Hanks movie that I always find you can consider it not drama, but I always thought is Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah, that's a drama.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's definitely a drama.
I found it hard to fit Gump anywhere on my list, and I really did try. I mean, I wanted it on there. I almost picked it as
if we were
my
going to have a category
Oscar
like
winner.
most quoted movies, that would definitely
Gump is up there.
make my list. But now to the category, the bread and butter, my favorite category, the reason we're here, and that is comedies. And I want to start this one off by saying this is the genre that I can honestly consider myself the most expert in. It's my favorite genre of movies. There's very few comedies that have been mainstream that I've not seen, tons of independent ones as well. But I just wanted to know, so you guys understand where I'm coming from here. I put 3 categories of why I wanted to qualify these. Number 1, quotability. Any good comedy should have tons of things that people talk about. Number 2, staying power. Good comedy should be able to hold up long after it's been released. Perfect example, that Chappelle Show. I still watch that, laugh every time. Number 3, creativity. So many things that you can just follow on with a comedy, like slapstick, classic, just one-liners, things like that. So taking something new. So with that being said, here's my category. Number 1, Dumb and Dumber. Number 1 Jim Carrey movie ever. It's my favorite comedy ever made. It's got the perfect blend of slapstick, buddy comedy, road trip comedy, and just pure stupid humor. Hands down, one of my favorite movies. Number 2, the most quotable movie I have ever seen in my life, Superbad. That movie is the only movie where I, as a grown man, will admit I fell out of my chair laughing. Could not believe how hard I laughed at that movie. And then my number 3 is Tropic Thunder. Any use of blackface should be immediately considered horribly offensive, yet somehow in that movie it adds so much more to the character that you never even consider.
I'm the dude played a dude disguised as another dude.
So many great
That's a great
storylines, so many great one-liners, great performances for everybody. But I just had to get out my honorable mentions real quick just because I didn't want them left. Number 1, Talladega Nights. Quotability, sheer comedy. John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell, I'll put up there as one of the greatest comedy duos ever. I'm so glad they're doing Sherlock and Watson together. And then my other one, just because the cult classic and John Goodman himself, Big Lebowski.
Oh, damn it.
You got to have Big Lebowski in that
Number 1
list.
on mine.
Do you know how many times I find myself saying, am I the only one that gives a shit about the rules around here? Like, at least twice a week. But yes, so those are my
Plus,
comments.
I've never seen Jeff Bridges so fully transform into another person as he is the dude.
Nice marmot. That's the only like.
God damn it!
If he had no other lines in that movie,
Yeah, that's
that. And then the
so
carpet really
based on
tied
your
the
reaction
room.
to my reaction is like, damn it.
The carpet
That was
really
my
tied the
that's my
room
number
together.
one. I mean, The Big Lebowski is on my list of favorite movies of all time.
And then just the amount of times he tells Donnie to shut. Like you're like a child who wanders into a movie theater with no idea what's going. Just
I'm the Walrus.
it's so good. Son, have you heard of Vietnam? You're entering a world of pain.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good lines. Even the ones that weren't like meant to be funny or just they just make me laugh out loud. Like even, hey, careful, there's a beverage here, man.
Over the line.
Yeah, just everything about it is so good. It's Laundry Dude, The Whites.
Just the epitome of a comedy to me. But I would argue that I will fall on a sword for any of those 5 movies as like defending them to the death because they are quintessential comedies to me. Mm-hmm. Robert, I know that I stole Lebowski from you, so how's it feel?
Oh, yeah.
That's what you did to me with Spotlight.
that really hurt. That really did hurt. But I will make up for it with Something About Mary.
Nice.
Ooh, good one.
That is, it's not, it is quotable. You know, have you seen my baseball? But at the same time, just the comedy between, you know, it's like, oh, is that hair gel?
That movie's more traumatic for me because I've experienced the zipper incident, and it is
and the zipper
by
incident.
no means.
It's like it's the you know, it's the Fairley brothers. It's just so much is wrong with it. So much is wrong with it, but it's all so funny.
It's like a cartoon with live action.
It is a cartoon with live action. No, that's a great way to say it. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Damn it.
Is also,
really? That was on your list?
I just wrote that down when you said Lebowski.
Dude, this was like a compatibility test with this podcast.
It's just like, you know, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is absolutely hilarious. And so, yeah, so since he picked The Big Lebowski, my one is on here is, if you have not seen this, it's about mating habits of the earthbound human. Wow. If you have not, it is out there. If you can find it, great. David Niven's not.
It's one of those movies like 6 people have seen.
Yeah, 6 people. Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human. It's got Carmen Electra in it. Mostly no-name actors. Some people you might recognize from television. I'm forgetting his name. David from the guy who played Niles from Frasier does the voice work for it, and
He's awesome.
It is hilarious.
I love Frasier so much.
Yep.
I'm a huge fan of Frasier.
Some great picks.
So mine, my first 2 were knocked off the list by both you jerks, so I had to revamp it kind of on the fly here.
No one put 40-Year-Old Virgin? Come on.
I love that movie, though. It's
as far
good.
as like those like quotability, staying power, and creativity.
It's
like,
awesome. So I got number 3, Shaun of the Dead.
So good.
A huge Edgar Wright fan, and just everyone. The whole Cornetto trilogy is really good, and 2 of them made it to my
I hold
list.
Hot Fuzz up above all the others, though.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think that's probably my least of the favorites. I like World's End better than Shaun of the Dead, but Shaun of the Dead stands as one of the funnier movies. Also, History of the World Part 1 by Mel Brooks. As far as quotability and staying power goes, I mean, that is just a whole nother thing. And it's great because it's like 3 separate stories or 4 separate stories. So
Totally true.
And there's no part 2. So I think that's...
Are you a eunuch?
That's a great joke. So Shaun of the Dead, History of the World Part 1. I got to throw Wayne's World up on there for Garth, because Garth is one of my favorite. He's like my spirit animal.
Anchorman was hard for me to not put up there.
And yeah, so Wayne's World was just great. One of the better Saturday Night Live movies to come out. And then for my honorable mention, I struggled between 2. So I would either say The Blues Brothers or Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Good choices. I just have to say now immediately, like it's flashing through my head, so I have to verbalize it. I just said Anchorman, and immediately, like I think of the reason why, and it's at the very beginning of the movie when they all do their own little intros, and it's Brick. He's like, "I'm Brick Tamblyn." Years later, it will be found out that I'm mentally retarded. And, like as he's spooning mayonnaise into a toaster, just like so hilarious.
Well,
like Steve Carell is the king of like dumb guy comedy, like just. Hilarious. That movie, he is so funny.
The fun-
Loud noises! Like when they're all arguing, that's all you...
The favorite part is after that, it's like when they get to the huge street fight.
Brick killed the guy.
The guy
I had to try it.
I had to try it. It's like, you killed the guy. You should lay low and get down.
I'm trapped in a glass case of emotion.
It's just, and you're like, It's like, what happened here?
So hilarious. But yeah, the comedy genre by far is one of the ones I will fall on. But
and
there
also
you go.
the hardest one to fill out.
It really is, because it like you have to really, I could list off 20 comedies right now that I consider like great movies, but I had to like knock it down to those 3 categories. But yeah, so now you guys got a chance to know us a little bit better as we get ready. Next week, obviously, is premiere week. All of our CW shows, TV is back, and we begin the official start of Oscar season. So we will be definitely taking an in-depth look at all the best nerd news and reviews. With this being a slow week, we just wanted to give you a chance to know where we're coming from, and I'm glad we did, because it kind of shows like how on the same page we are with like our opinions and movies and things like that. But yeah, so this was our movie special. We are going to be doing a TV one of those, but one of the things we are excited about is our Fantastic Four commentary track. Definitely look out for that coming very soon. But I think that is going to wrap things up for this week's episode of the Get Your Geek On podcast. I want to thank you for joining us, and let us know what you thought about our opinions for each movie, and feel free to let us know your own. So for this week's episode, I'm your host, Charles KIWACZ.
Robert Dilks.
Anthony Arsenio.
Have a week, guys.